not uncommon for spouses to adopt different departments to manage their household. Like one keeps the cars running and the yard green, the other one remembers to pay the bills on time, one buys groceries, the other one takes the kids to school, etc., etc., etc. In this division of duties, often one of the partners knows the financial situation of the family better than the other spouse. And the other spouse simply sits happy not having to process or to deal with the numbers or the dollars. So this is often accentuated when one of the partners, one of the spouses, is the breadwinner and the other one is the stay-home parent. That tends to be kind of a general rule. So depending on the level of decency of the spouse in charge of the finances, if you are one who completely ignores the finances surrounding your family and you are divorcing, here are some suggestions for you, 7 of them. Or hopefully, these suggestions are for both of you, for both divorcing spouses. So number 1, don't get an attorney in panic. Wait. When you hear the word divorce, don't panic and as the first reaction, go to the first random attorney and hire this person, unless you already know a good attorney that you can trust. It's okay to do that. So just know that getting an attorney is not the automatic cure-all approach. If you think you will need an attorney, do your homework first correctly and interview more than one. I will post a talk on how to find the right attorney for you. And I'm not going to suggest any specific names, of course, but I'm going to give you guidance on the right attorney for your case. Many are the cases when a bad attorney will end up costing you more money than the value of your car or part of your house, and you still don't get a fair division of assets. Number 2, write down an extensive list of the things in your family world. These are called assets, these things, objects. So sit down at your nearest coffee place and get organized. Create a list for your assets, basically everything that is material with a significant value. Start with the house, if you have a house. Include cars, everything that was purchased within your marriage. Once you have a list, you will realize that it's not really an endless task. What matters is normally less than the stuff that surrounds us. Also create a folder, electronic or physical, where you will collect the important documents that are relevant to your list. You may want to start with the largest one, usually the real estate part. You may not have access to relevant documents yet, but begin the list. Nevertheless, start writing your list. Even if you have no intention to claim certain objects, still list them. Things with significant value that have become invisible will show up, like jewelry, tools, cars, bank accounts, investments, 401ks. So having this list will give you mental order and peace with the process to start walking this uncomfortable process that is divorce. Number 3, propose to your spouse a method to divide the assets. If the communication is not completely broken in your case, talk to your spouse and propose to approach the division of assets in a fair and equitable fashion. I know this sounds like wishful thinking, in a way that no one comes out too hurt, financially speaking. Try to help him or her understand that advancing this work without any outside party will save you time and headaches, no matter what happens later in the process. A shared list of assets without a name attached to the object is a first great accomplishment. Just a list of your assets. You're not saying this is mine, this is yours, not there yet. For instance, if we were to decide to hire an attorney later, this homework will still save you money because you don't need to be paying an attorney to help you remember the number of chairs or mirrors that you have or the jewelry that you own over the years. So when you sit with your spouse to prepare the initial list of assets to be divided, be ready for reactions too and keep your cool. For instance, if you're a woman and you mention the word tools, be prepared for a reaction, but hey, deal with it. Everything counts. Everything should be included. You're not saying that you're gonna take them, but that's part of your world. Just be consistent with the notion that listing everything of value doesn't mean that you're planning to ask for it, but rather you both will need a neutral list that takes technically care of every material thing that you own. Because those things will travel to different houses eventually. Physical matter will have to be either here or there. So that's what your list is for. You will have plenty time to remove stuff from this list together. So for now, just try to include everything. Number 4, assign a dollar value to objects in your list. As you're the self-appointed leader of this process, ask if he or she could contribute with the values of certain things that you don't know, like the balance of the mortgage, the current value of the house, current value of the cars, balances in the bank accounts. This may cause some friction, but just have approximates. Even with approximates is better than nothing. This exercise can be excruciating for many people who are the non-money maker, the non-money maker spouse. So if you take these tips as closely as possible, this will help you. And will be also a mind-opening tool for the controller of the money in your case. Often he begins assuming, or she begins assuming, that if you pay for that, for the item, he gets to keep it. So since you took leadership in this process, you are starting to bring this reality home that the things that were acquired during the marriage are marital property. Funny note here is that in the cases that I see, oftentimes what neither party wants is the timeshare. 5, focus on the valuable items. Prioritize the use of your time, your energy, and your stress. So focus on the large value items. Don't go crazy about the small stuff. No need to list every chair, every mirror, unless you want that. You can group the furniture or the lawnmower or the tools. Make a list of personal items, your clothes, and perhaps many of other items can fall on this list of personal items, things that you brought to the marriage as well. Propose a system where one picks first. This approach should save you another chunk of headaches because chances are many things belong quite obviously to one or the other, and other things may be offered out of just goodwill or just out of laziness to deal with it. So you may be surprised by how naturally this flows. And if there are large items that cause a big imbalance, the solution may jump out of the paper. It's called a cash payment. For instance, his car is worth $36,000, paid off. Yours is worth $12,000, all paid off. The difference is $24,000. So he should pay you $12,000 to equalize this in the car department. Number 7, the big item, the house, normally the house. Hopefully with this process, the spouse in charge of the finances will have internalized the notion that real property purchased during the course of the marriage is marital, regardless of whether the mortgage payment came from this salary or from this salary. Most judges I know, at least in Colorado, will have you go half and half in this large item. So you might as well save time and attorney's fees and come to an agreement that results in a 50-50 early in the game. Save yourselves a lot of headache. The approaches to divide the assets are not many, and they're all quite simple. What complicates most people is the mental resistance to accept this fact that the long court fights armed with attorneys, they get to the same place. The no-brainer is to sell the house, discount the selling cost, and divide the equity in equal proportions. Or one keeps the house and buys out the other one. In order to do that, you will need to get an appraisal, jointly establish the market value of the house, check how much you still owe to the lender. The balance is the equity of the house. You need to divide that equity. And that agreement can take, that one spouse will pay the other over a period of time. Normally, I see used anywhere between 3 and 6 months. I see people fight for 100% of the house, spending thousands and thousands in attorney's fees to end up exactly where they started, with a 50-50 deal. Special note is, if the house was purchased by one of the spouses before the marriage, and the married couple lives in the house, they both contribute to living expenses in different ways. So the most common resolution I see in this case is in Colorado is to see the equity that was accumulated since the marriage as marital property. So that portion should be divided 50-50. In other words, the spouse who owns the house pays the other half for the equity calculated within the years of marriage, and for half of that equity. Good luck with this.